Guys, I promised you an exciting weekend of football, and that's exactly what we got from the Premier League. We're going to be going through Saturday and Sunday's fixtures, and we're going to be going through that right about now. Obviously, we had our preview video a couple of days ago where we covered the fixtures which were coming up, and we're going to cover some select games out of those. I mean, there's some games which a story needs to be told on, and some games which I think we need to dive in a little bit deeper. So we're going to start with the lunchtime kickoff, the Leicester versus Chelsea game. This was a game where we were expecting Chelsea to show out. They had come off the back of that draw with Arsenal, and they've done really well this season. Players like Cole Palmer, Nicholas Jackson had really stepped up for them, and it was very much the same. The first 15 minutes before the goal was scored, Leicester were poor. Steve Cooper's team were camped in their own half for large quantities of the game, and as you can see, domination from pretty much start to finish in the first half. I mean, yikes, not good at all at home. But it just shows Maresca's implemented a style and a way of playing a football that, you know, Chelsea can go away from home and in large parts dominate the game to such a degree. I don't know if it's more of a indication of how well Chelsea are doing, or more of a label for what Steve Cooper's been doing, because it didn't work. It wasn't good enough. I think Maresca would have, you know, is a manager that would elevate any team in terms of, like, we saw what he did in Leicester, we've seen what he does at Chelsea, and Leicester probably would have loved to keep Maresca and have a way of football that means that they're not getting dominated at home for pretty much large quantities of the game. Key thing I'll take away from this is Nicholas Jackson's goal. One greatest work by Enzo Fernandez to get a goal and assist during this game, but Nicholas Jackson's finish was superb. He's been amazing this season. Honestly, he has been really, really impressive. I think he's what you potentially would call a rough diamond. He has everything. He's got the physical profile. He's big. He's quite tall. He's fast. He can dribble. His finishing has always been what's in question, but you saw all the stats that he had in Villarreal when he came from La Liga for one of his first seasons in the league, and was impressive. First season in the Premier League wasn't, you know, complete, but you saw glimpses, and this season he's firing. I've got to be honest, I'm a big fan of Nicholas Jackson, whether it's his work rate, whether it's some of the more unconventional stuff that he does. Just a big fan of his. Enzo Fernandez was probably one of his best performances in a Chelsea shirt. Pretty much ran that midfield. It wasn't a hard one to run, let's be honest, but he ran it well, and he showed out in a team that really needed him to perform, and he did, and they put Leicester to the sword pretty easily. From a Leicester point of view, again, as mentioned, their team inspires really not a lot of confidence. There's a way to go for them, sure, and I wouldn't be surprised if Steve Cooper has his job in a very, very difficult position sooner rather than later. So we're going to be covering and going on to our next game, which is Arsenal versus Nottingham Forest. Arsenal had a lot of pressure coming up against the Forest team, who had done really well this season, who had gone away to the likes of Anfield and got a victory, so Arsenal could not take this lightly. Arsenal and Nottingham Forest were on the same points as we had covered, but coming into this game, again, I said it very, very openly in the preview video that Arsenal needed a start finish. Arsenal needed a fast start. That was imperative for if Arsenal were going to go forward and win this game. They needed to start fast. They needed to go in the first 20 minutes, and that's exactly what they got. Bukayo Saka linking up with the captain Martin Odegaard to deliver an absolutely brilliant finish. And I mean, what can you say about Saka? Star boy, absolute gem for Arsenal. One of the most consistent players, one of the best in his age group, has grown from a boy to a man and consistently delivers, and he loves playing against Nottingham Forest at home. What can you say? Again, brilliant goal, and it set Arsenal on a track that we haven't seen in recent times, and whether that's due to some of the changes that were made in the starting lineup, and we'll cover those now, or if it's just, you know, natural progression of having the captain back, it's yet to be determined. But Arsenal looked a lot more fluid. They looked a lot better. Like so, Jorginho, again, I'm gonna ignore the football brain. He was good, very good in the midfield. Unfortunately, he had to come off at half time due to injury. Guard was shining. He's in those in between spaces. We've talked about it before. You have those players who just unlock in between spaces, and Odegaard, Saka are brilliant at doing that. What makes them so special is that they're able to unlock. Saka can do both. He can play as a winger. He can play in these in between spaces. He can link up. He can take people on 1v1s, but he needs players to link up to get the best out of his creativity and his movement. And Odegaard is built especially for that. Also want to give Calafiori a shout out. Was very, very impressive during Timber as well. Very, very impressive. That back four is solid. I had my concerns about Calafiori, but this was his most solid game, and I'd love to see him continue in that vein. Moreno, decent game by all accounts. Trossard, again, decent. The team as a whole just performed a lot better than they had recently. From Forest, I know they made a number of changes on their side. Chris Wood didn't start. It was potentially a blow for them, but I think this was a game where away to Arsenal for them and the way they played would have never been easy. And I think Arsenal just took advantage of the moment and took the game by the scruff of the neck. There was a goal by Thomas Partey, a brilliant curler from outside of the box, which was very well received and much needed to put the game to bed. And then finally, Ethan Nwaneri finished it off with his first goal, becoming the second youngest player for Arsenal to be a goal scorer. And again, he's shown his ability time and time again. He's a player that Arsenal fans have been clamouring for. Mikel has preached patience. You can't really knock him for saying that. But Ethan is someone who can really, really deputise for Odegaard. He has a slightly different skill set, but nonetheless can be really pivotal. And I think there was opportunities for Mikel to play him during that run where he probably should have taken out Trossard, put Ethan in, get a little bit of a change of perspective. Boy's ready, and I was really impressed. Raheem came off the bench, got the assist for Ethan's goal. Again, really, really happy to see him be involved, and I would love to see him be involved a little bit more as time goes on. But a really impressive win for Arsenal, and they find themselves back in the pack and in the hunt to chase down the leaders. Next up, Fulham versus Wolves, and I again, this was a game that I spoke about as potentially being one of the underrated games of the weekend, and it proved to be that. I mean, from a Wolves perspective, it took them a while to get their first win. They've been playing really, really well this whole season, but now it's back-to-back victories and it's well-deserved. I want to highlight a couple of things that have been coming to my mind, and you might be thinking, oh, with all the big games, why did you highlight this one? One, it's one we covered in the preview, and it was one I had high hopes for. Two teams that may not be at the top, but can provide really entertaining games. And this game was back and forth. Wolves do run out as 4-1 winners, but it was a really end-to-end game, and it was really impressive from both teams. But one thing that made the difference for Fulham compared to Wolves is that Wolves have a player called Cunha. Mateus Cunha is a baller. Mateus Cunha is not getting his flowers this season. Mateus Cunha, if he's not going to be praised on any other channel, he's going to be praised here because the boy is balling. The former Atletico Madrid striker. I mean, every time I see him, he is pivotal to Wolves. He makes them click. He is the link that is required between that midfield and attack. He can single-handedly drive forward that attack as well. He is a really good a player. I know he likes playing off a big man, a strike partner, and he's doing really well with Larson, and they're linking up very, very well. But I just wanted to highlight Mateus Cunha. Unfortunate for Fulham to lose and stop and halt their momentum to a degree. But I just wanted to highlight Wolves and the good work that they've been doing consistently through this season is starting to pay off. They've got some gems in their team. Gomez, who's been playing really well. Cunha, who we've already spoken about. And Out-Nouri, who we already know about. Just really good. And I'm just going to take a look at Cunha here. As mentioned, 2 goals, 1 assist, 1 from outside the box, 1 from in the penalty area, showing his diverse ability. He can play striker, he can play just behind the striker, as we've mentioned. 7 goals and 3 assists this season. That's 10 goal contributions in 12 games. 10 goal contributions in 10 games. Mateus Cunha, do not sleep on him. He is someone who can do a lot of damage, and I would almost think for other Premier League teams, is this someone that we should be looking at? 25 years of age, good age, playing very well. If he's doing it for Wolves, he could probably do it for another team. He to me, he's in the group of an Embremo, a Wissa, a Cunha, players who need to be highlighted and should be, on the radar for some of these big teams. But just wanted to highlight Wolves, wanted to highlight Cunha, and I think I'll probably do a little video on all the underrated or players who are going under the radar now, because they deserve to be highlighted and they deserve their shine. Moving on to the next game, and this is a game, well, you can see by the smile on my face. I mean, these are 2 teams that I've got, being an Arsenal fan, you're going to have a little bit of needle between Man City. Obviously, we've been competing for the last couple of years with them. the fixture this year was heated. Let's not be honest. Between City fans, Arsenal fans, the players, the managers, there was a bit of that, and obviously our rivalry was with Tottenham Hotspurs. But coming into this game, I said it in the preview that Tottenham normally give Man City a very hard game. I didn't think that Tottenham would do it again by getting a result against Man City without their two starting centre backs, but I was proved wrong once again. Man City didn't take advantage of the opportunities which presented themselves. They did not take a chance of the opportunities that were presented themselves, and namely, Haaland didn't take the chances which were presented to him. I mean, he should have had a minimum of 2 to 3 goals by the time that Spurs scored their first goal. This period of domination from the first 10 minutes, a goal should have been scored by then, and it wasn't. And Spurs, whether you like them, you dislike them, I've said it before, they can play some of the best football in the league, and they can also look very susceptible. But this was one of the games where City didn't take their chances, and Tottenham are going to play the way they play, gung-ho, press you, open, and they will get their goals, and they will make you look very, very foolish in a short time. And it's the duality of Spurs. You can beat Man City away from home 4-0, but you can lose to Ipswich at home 2-1. These things can happen, but they're a team that has a style of play which can cause these kind of results. From a Man City standpoint, absolutely battered. Tottenham played some great counter-attacking football and pressing football. They weren't to be bullied or overawed by Man City, and those goals went in with ease. I'm looking at that back four with skeptical eyes. Walker was looking lost for the majority of the game. Guardiola not much better. I mean, you got to give your hats off to Spurs. They bounced back from that Ipswich defeat, which I know Angels were very disappointed about, with an absolutely massive victory. And for me, they should be, pushing and amongst those who are looking for those top 4 positions. If I'm being honest with you, the way they play, they just need to get consistency in their game, and they can go pretty far. For a Man City standpoint, 5 defeats back to back. I think this was their 3rd Premier League defeat in a row. And panic stations, potentially, I think so. If it's never happened in your 5-year, 10-year, or however long Pepper's been here and it's happening now, the panic and should be getting pushed right about now. We need to be locking in, and there's injuries, no doubt about it. But you look at the team that they've put out, you should be winning. Haaland should be getting goals. And it's funny because ever since he said to Mikel Arteta, "Oh, humble yourself or be humble," he scored 1 Premier League goal. Ever since his opening season, whether he's delivered the numbers or not, his influence or how we regard him has slowly but surely waned. You're a goal scorer who relies on service, who can rarely create for himself. And if that doesn't happen and you're not finishing your chances and you're not clinical, then your value to the team diminishes significantly. And that's the position that he's in. But I wouldn't be too doubtful on Haaland's scoring abilities. I'm sure he'll come up against another team next week and he'll score. But Man City versus Liverpool is on the horizon, and Man City cannot afford another defeat. Otherwise, Liverpool are going to be looking very, very strong. And it's funny we talk about Liverpool because that is the next game we're going to be covering. Today was an adventure, guys. We went on an adventure with this game. Firstly, that Southampton, I mean, that goalkeeper, he took me on a ride. He took me on an absolute ride. I was confused about what the hell was going on in that game. So the first goal, let's start from the beginning. I'll be honest, the first 30 minutes were pretty competitive. Liverpool had obviously majority of the ball, but Southampton it wasn't a nightmare for them. Yes, Liverpool had most of the ball, but Liverpool weren't cutting through them like butter. They didn't seem to have to be clicking in the way that they would normally be clicking. But it took a mistake and a pretty silly one from Southampton. So Liverpool have had a shot. It's gone to Alex McCarthy. He's held the ball essentially. Southampton centre-back is telling him, get the ball out, roll the ball out, let's start attacking. Why? I don't know. Get your players up the pitch, establish position, put the ball up long. I know that's not Southampton's style of play, but my goodness, you've got Liverpool haven't even retreated after their first attack and you're getting the ball thrown out. The ball is quickly lost. Soboslai finds it on the edge of the box and curls in a brilliant finish, in my estimation. Liverpool 1-0 up, but you do not give the league leaders an opportunity like that. You shot yourself in the foot, absolutely. But Southampton showed heart. They fought back. A foul on Dibbling led to Armstrong finishing off the penalty. That was just before the halftime break. And honestly, like Southampton came out of that halftime break and was looking strong. There was opportunities for them to, go on and attack and score, and that's exactly what they did. Fernandez finishing off a brilliant attack for Southampton. Liverpool left themselves slightly open. I'm looking at Van Dijk there. I'm looking at Robertson there. Not the best from them, if I'm being honest. But they found themselves 2-1 up, and it was looking pretty good. I'll be honest with you, I didn't have any confidence that Southampton would see this game out, if I'm being honest with you. I had no confidence. But as the game went on, you're like, okay, they're looking strong. They're having moments. Even 2-1 up, there's opportunities for them to extend their lead potentially. But again, a silly mistake. Salah with a great run, if I'm being honest with you, finds himself just beating the offside trap and one-on-one with Alex McCarthy. But Alex McCarthy's positioning is disgusting. He essentially leaves the whole of the goal open for Salah to finish. Makes it 2-2, and after that, the writing was on the wall. There was a foul in the box, I believe, and Salah stepped up for the penalty. That made it 3-2, and Liverpool ran out as victors. And that's the heart of a champion. I'm saying, in my estimation right now, it's very early to say Liverpool are going to win the league. I wouldn't go that far as yet, but they are looking strong. And wins like this inspire confidence. Wins like this make you think that this is ours to win. And it's going to be very interesting to see if they can do that. But league leaders coming out, winning a tough away game, and they continue that march into that Man City game. Next up and finally, Ipswich versus Man United. The first game for Amorim started off very well with a Rashford goal, and I'm sure the writing was probably on the wall for Man United fans, thinking this is exactly what we want to be doing. Our managers implemented the style that we think is probably going to be the best for us. Rashford up front, Garnacho and Fernandez just behind in the 3-4-2-1 that we know Amorim was looking to implement. It was great to see the Man United players adapt to the system. Ahmad in the wing back position, Rawi in the centre back position, Evans playing, Dalot playing. So a lot of changes for a Man United team who were looking to continue their recent form, which has been pretty decent. Ipswich, who come off the win against Spurs, again, were looking to build on that. They've had a decent time at home as well, putting on some decent performances. And again, I think they did that once again. Hutchinson with the equaliser to make it 1-1, a brilliant curled finish. And I think Ipswich ran out as deserved, with a deserved equaliser. And they were competitive throughout the game, to be honest with you. Probably had the better chances than Man United. And from what Amorim said in the post-match conference, potentially too much overthinking, took too much time on the ball. He spoke about a number of things when it came to players' positions and where he wanted them to be, what he wanted them to do, how quickly he wanted them to do it. But again, growing pains for Amorim and Man United, which is expected with a new style of play, with a new way of doing things. This is to be expected. So guys, we're just going to cover the Premier League table very, very quickly. Liverpool stand as your league leaders. Only one game lost, only one draw. Very, very impressive from them. Still conceded less than 10 goals. Yeah, they are the team to beat. Then next up for them is Man City. Are they going to continue the pain? It's going to be very interesting to see. Chelsea again are third with their win against Leicester. They've got Aston Villa next. Arsenal have West Ham. And Brighton make up the top 5 at the moment. United with that draw still stay 11th. Spurs have climbed with their win against Man City. And in the final game on Monday, I believe we have Newcastle versus West Ham, if I'm not mistaken. So guys, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. Make sure to leave your like, a comment. Let me know what your game of the weekend was, what you were impressed by. And I'll catch you guys soon. Peace.